What if the mysterious allure of the Sigma female isn't just a personality quirk, but a fundamental difference in how her brain is wired? Could her unique way of navigating the world be a sign of neurodivergence, allowing her to perceive and interact with reality on a completely different frequency? I'm your host, Alfred, and for today's video, the ones who see the world differently are often the ones who reshape it. Today's transmission isn't just another exploration of personality types or surface-level psychology. No, we're tearing open the comfortable definitions and digging into the neural blueprints of the Sigma female. She's often labeled mysterious, detached, or simply different. But what if that difference isn't just psychological? What if it's neurological? In this episode, we'll unlock 12 non-obvious, rarely discussed reasons why the Sigma female might actually be neurodivergent, wired to think, feel, and operate in a completely different framework. We're not here for cute labels or Instagram-friendly buzzwords. We're here to expose the inner architecture layer by layer. Each point in this video is a lens, a reframing, a key. So if you've ever felt out of sync, misread, or like you're processing life on a different frequency, you're not broken, you're encoded differently. And that difference is your power. But remember, this space isn't for everyone. It's not soft. It's not sugar-coated. It's not for those afraid of their own reflection. If you walk with sharp questions and silent strength, subscribe. Not because I asked, but because this may be the only place that speaks your language. The cognitive loner loop. Being alone isn't a preference for the Sigma female. It's how she breathes. While others feel drained by silence, she comes alive in it. This isn't just introversion. This is cognitive necessity. Her brain runs loops, simulations, reflections, scenarios. While most people engage in reactive thinking, she's a recursive thinker. Thoughts don't come in straight lines. They come in spirals, in systems, in dense clouds. She processes layers at once: emotion, logic, memory, and projection. A Sigma female may seem distant, but it's because her inner world is louder than the outer one. Her solitude isn't avoidance. It's architecture. It's where she constructs meaning. People often mistake this for social discomfort, but the truth is, social noise often interrupts the clarity of her internal process. She doesn't isolate to escape. She isolates to connect deeper with thought, with self, with source. In fact, she often feels more drained around people because of the translation work her brain has to do. The energy spent interpreting small talk, decoding facial expressions, or responding with the right emotional tone. It's work, real, exhausting neurological work. So when she's alone, her brain returns to its optimal frequency. She can think, she can synthesize, she can build. This loner loop is actually a form of neurodivergent cycling. Her thoughts aren't just introspective. They're looping in a way that allows integration over time. Insights don't come instantly. They evolve. She often makes connections hours or days after the moment because her brain never truly stops processing. Even when she's with people, she may feel internally alone. That's not detachment, it's mismatch. The surface-level social layer doesn't match the depth at which she operates. She'll laugh, nod, and participate, but her real dialogue is inward. That's why she often gravitates toward ideas over people. Ideas don't require translation, so no, she's not just private. She's neurologically structured for solitude. It's where her signal is cleanest, where her brain can map reality without interference. The world may call it anti-social, but in truth, it's the purest form of self-alignment. Emotional decoding in high-resolution Sigma. Females often experience emotions in HD, while others might notice that someone seems off. The Sigma knows exactly what's off and why. She feels beneath the feeling. It's not empathy in the typical sense. It's more like emotional pattern recognition. Her brain picks up subtle shifts in tone, body language, word choice. It processes inconsistencies and flags them instantly. This isn't magic. It's neurodivergence. A hypersensitive nervous system combined with an analytical mind creates this emotional radar. She doesn't just sense energy, she analyzes it, stores it, and uses it to predict behavior. It's no accident that people either trust her deeply or feel exposed around her. She sees too much. As a result, the Stigma often finds emotional interactions overwhelming, not because she doesn't care, but because she cares in layers. She can see someone hurting beneath a smile, and that cognitive dissonance makes her uncomfortable. She can't ignore it. Her brain won't let her. This level of emotional decoding also makes relationships difficult. She knows when someone is lying. She knows when someone's being performative. She knows when the words don't match the frequency. It becomes nearly impossible to tolerate shallow dynamics, fake apologies, or surface-level affection. Sometimes this leads her to withdraw, not because she lacks emotional intelligence, but because she has too much of it. She has to protect her system from emotional overload. It's not coldness, it's self-preservation. Another twist this skill doesn't turn off, even when she's not trying to analyze. Her mind picks up things in the background. It's like a live feed of human data constantly streaming in, and if she's in a room full of people, forget it. She's decoding a dozen emotional subplots at once. The emotional radar is a gift, but it's also a weight because once she sees the truth, she can't unsee it. That's why honesty isn't just a preference for the Sigma, it's a survival need. Her nervous system can't handle emotional dishonesty. It literally makes her sick. So when someone says she's too sensitive or too intense, what they're really seeing is neurodivergent clarity. She reads emotional code like it's written in neon, and while the world plays in grayscale, she's seeing in full spectrum. Social codes equals foreign language. For the Sigma female, social norms are a script written in a foreign language. She can learn them, she can mimic them, but they never feel natural, they never feel real. That's because they aren't intuitive to her neurotype. They're learned patterns, not felt ones. When she walks in to a room, she doesn't scan for who's popular or powerful. She scans for meaning, who's authentic, who's hiding, who's draining the energy, and who's holding the center. This isn't socialization, it's observation, and often it's exhausting. Why? Because most of what people call normal behavior makes no sense to her, laughing at unfunny jokes, pretending to agree to avoid conflict, saying I'm fine when they're clearly not. These things confuse her, not because she's emotionally unaware, but because her brain isn't wired to perform. It's wired to process. This leads to frequent social friction. She'll speak plainly when others are dancing around the truth. She'll go quiet when others expect performative engagement. People may say she's rude, distant, or awkward, but in reality, she's just struggling to navigate a system built on unspoken rules and emotional pretense. So she learns to mask. She watches, studies, replicates. Over time, she becomes an expert at blending in until she burns out. Because masking is exhausting, it's not just acting, it's neurological strain. Every smile, every nod, every how are you becomes a line in a role she never auditioned for. The irony, she's often better at reading social dynamics than most. She just doesn't play them. She sees the power plays, the insecurities, the groupthink, but she doesn't join, not because she thinks she's better, but because she feels out of sync. To others, her behavior is mysterious, but to her, it's survival. She builds her own language, her own rhythm. She doesn't engage to be liked. She engages when it's real. So if a Sigma female seems socially off, don't mistake it for indifference. Understand it for what it is, a neurodivergent navigating a world of unspoken expectations using instinct and logic instead of mimicry. Hyperfocus as a weapon, not a quirk. Forget multitasking. That's not how the Sigma female operates. When something matters to her, she doesn't just focus, she locks in. It's not discipline, it's neurolock. She can sit in the same position for hours, lose track of time, forget to eat, ignore texts. Not because she's obsessed, but because her brain doesn't understand moderation when it's engaged. Hyperfocus isn't a productivity trick for her. It's a full-body state of absorption. Everything else fades. It's as if her entire nervous system tunes to a single frequency, and until the mission is complete, she can't unhook herself. Most people mistake this for workaholism or tunnel vision, but it's not driven by ego. It's driven by compulsion, by inner necessity. This can make her a force of nature when she's building, creating, writing, solving. She can outperform teams. She can see angles others don't even think to consider. Her ability to go deep allows her to notice flaws, find truths, and innovate without needing applause. But it's a double-edged sword, because once she's in, she can't just turn it off. This state also means that other things, basic life things, get ignored. Relationships can suffer, bodies can get tired. She might forget to reply to a message, not because she's rude, but because in that moment her reality had narrowed to a single objective. People often see this as intensity, and yes, it is, but it's neurological intensity. It's not a performance, it's not trying hard, it's just how she's built. And when the hyperfocus fades, there's a crash, a dip, a kind of cognitive exhaustion that no nap or coffee can fix. The brain's been sprinting without pause, and now it demands silence. Many Sigma females learn to hide this cycle. They mask the crash. They try to balance, but truth is, the way her brain fixates is not entirely under her control. It's instinct, it's flow, it's fire. She doesn't choose to hyperfocus. She is hyperfocus. And when she finds a subject that aligns with her inner wiring, she becomes unstoppable, not because she wants to dominate, but because the subject awakens a current she can't resist. So no, it's not a quirk, it's a weapon, and like any weapon, it must be wielded with awareness, but used right. It changes everything. Sensory radar dialed to 11 lights too bright, clothes too tight, voices too sharp, crowds too loud. The Sigma female doesn't just notice sensory input, she feels it deeply, physically, constantly, while others can shrug off discomfort. Her nervous system amplifies it. What's background noise to most is a full symphony of distraction for her. This isn't about being picky or dramatic, it's neurological sensitivity. Her brain doesn't filter stimuli like a neurotypical system. It absorbs everything: the tone in a voice, the buzzing light overhead, the slight flicker in someone's expression. It's all data. It's all pressure. This radar doesn't turn off. In fact, it's strongest in environments most people consider normal: offices, family gatherings, public spaces. Her brain scans constantly for threats, mismatches, or overload triggers. It's not anxiety, it's sensory vigilance. What does this mean practically? It means she's often tired for no obvious reason. It means she needs more recovery time after social events. It means clutter, chaos, or conflict can feel like actual physical pain. And it means silence isn't just preferred, it's essential. Some days the world feels too loud, not just sonically, but emotionally, energetically, visually. That's when the Sigma shuts down, cancels plans, withdraws, not to be rude, but to reset her system, to rebuild equilibrium. She's often labeled overly sensitive, but the truth is, her sensitivity is a finely tuned radar. She can walk into a room and feel what's unspoken, sense the tension, detect the lie. It's not psychic. It's sensory pattern recognition running beneath conscious awareness. And yes, it can be beautiful. That radar allows her to detect subtle beauty, meaning synchronicities. She notices the play of light on a surface, the emotion behind someone's eyes, the stillness of a moment most miss. But it comes at a cost, overload. Sigma females often need rituals to calm the system, music, darkness, deep pressure, stillness, not out of indulgence, but because the world simply wasn't built for their nervous system, and so they adapt, or they escape, or they build spaces where their radar can finally breathe. So when she steps away from the noise, it's not avoidance, it's survival, because a mind that perceives more, feels more, and that requires a kind of strength few recognize. The why reflex. Some people follow rules, others question them. The Sigma female dissects them. Her mind is wired to interrogate assumptions, not out of rebellion, but because obedience without understanding feels like betrayal of self. As a child, she probably asked why so often it exhausted adults, not just for curiosity, but because she needed logic, not authority. If a rule didn't make sense, it didn't hold weight. Her neurodivergent brain doesn't accept tradition, hierarchy, or expectation at face value. It demands coherence. This reflex often gets her labeled as difficult, resistant, or even arrogant, but it's not arrogance. It's cognitive independence. She doesn't push back to win. She pushes back to align her actions with truth. In school, this meant she'd challenge teachers. In jobs, she'd question procedures. In relationships, she'd dissect assumptions. She sees the gaps in logic, the holes in systems, and she names them out loud, not to cause trouble, but to find the real answer. It's not enough for her to do what's expected. She needs to understand what's right. And if that understanding breaks the rules, so be it. This makes her a threat in environments that rely on blind compliance. She doesn't fall in line. She steps back, looks at the structure, and asks, who built this and why should I play by it? The why reflex is also what fuels her sense of identity. She doesn't adopt roles blindly. She questions every version of herself, every belief, every loyalty. It's not insecurity, it's internal evolution. But here's the twist. While she questions everything around her, she holds herself to the same standard. She interrogates her own biases, her own emotions, her own motives. That's the difference between rebellion and integrity. In a world addicted to shortcuts, the Sigma female takes the long route because she refuses to live on autopilot. And that makes her dangerous to systems that depend on unthinking obedience. So if she's asking why, let her. That's not rebellion. That's intelligence in motion. Energy misread as arrogance. When a Sigma female walks into a room and doesn't immediately smile, engage, or seek approval, people get uncomfortable. Why? Because society is conditioned to expect warmth as a sign of goodness. And when that warmth isn't on display, the assumption is arrogance. But here's the truth. She's not cold. She's calculating energy. Her brain isn't wired to perform emotional labor unless it feels authentic. And so she conserves her energy, especially in environments that feel performative or energetically off. Stillness, her silence, her refusal to flatter. These aren't power plays, they're neurological self-regulation. She doesn't fake enthusiasm. She doesn't mirror energy. She doesn't feel that doesn't come from pride. It comes from processing overload. In fact, she often has more emotional depth than most people in the room. But that depth isn't for public consumption. It's guarded. Selective, intentional when she does engage, she does so with full presence. But until then, she's in scan mode, assessing dynamics, gauging authenticity, deciding if the space is safe for her frequency. The irony, she's often the first to notice when someone is emotionally uncomfortable, but she won't always respond in the expected way. Not because she doesn't care, but because she's choosing to not manipulate. She won't use emotional performance to soothe discomfort. She operates with emotional integrity, not strategy. People often project onto her what they don't understand. She's full of herself. She thinks she's better. No, she just doesn't over-explain, over-smile, or over-accommodate. And in a world addicted to approval that looks like arrogance, but it's not. It's neuro-boundaried presence. She knows how much energy she has, where it goes, and who deserves it. And that's threatening to those who perform for acceptance. So if you meet a Sigma female who doesn't immediately try to impress you, don't be offended. Be curious. She might be reading you deeper than you realize, and if she chooses to engage, you'll get all of her, not a mask. That's not arrogance. That's authenticity with boundaries. Obsession with systems, not stories. Stories are fine, but what the Sigma female really craves is the structure underneath. While others are drawn to drama, narrative, and identity politics, she zooms out. She sees systems. Give her an emotional conflict. She maps the pattern. Show her a dysfunctional team. She identifies the power dynamics. Describe your recurring failures. She spots the feedback loop. This isn't judgment. It's structural perception. Her brain isn't drawn to what happened. It's drawn to why it keeps happening. This is why people often feel seen by her, but also unnerved. She skips the surface and speaks directly to the mechanics. It's not because she lacks empathy, but because her empathy shows up as systems-level clarity. She doesn't just want to hear your story, she wants to understand the algorithm behind it, and that includes her own life. She's constantly analyzing her own behaviors, habits, relationships, not emotionally, but structurally. This obsession also makes her a natural strategist. She can redesign workflows, power structures, emotional dynamics, because she sees how things connect. It's why she's often misunderstood in emotionally driven spaces. People want validation. She offers insight. People want sympathy. She offers solutions, not because she doesn't feel, but because her mind prioritizes resolution over resonance. She's not wired to sit in chaos. She's wired to decode it. And once she does, she wants to rebuild it better. But this gift comes at a cost: frustration. Because most people don't want systems. They want stories, and stories resist change. Systems invite it. So the Sigma often ends up in solitude, not out of disdain for others, but because most people prefer comfort over clarity, and clarity is her default mode. She's not cold, she's structural, and in a world addicted to surface, that's revolutionary. Identity as an operating system, not an outfit. For most people, identity is a static thing, a fixed persona, a social mask, but not for the Sigma female. Her identity is an OS, constantly updating, integrating, rebooting. She doesn't become someone. She evolves quietly, deliberately, without permission. She's not interested in trends or group affiliations. Labels don't stick to her. She tries them on, tests them, discards them when they restrict movement. She isn't afraid to be a paradox, soft and brutal, logical and intuitive, detached and deeply loyal. That fluidity often confuses others. Who is she today, they wonder, but she's not shifting for approval. She's evolving for survival. Her neurodivergent mind is always seeking internal congruence, an alignment between what she knows, what she feels, and what she is. When new information enters, she doesn't just accept or reject it. She updates her code, integrates it, runs new simulations, and if a past version of herself doesn't fit anymore, she lets it go without apology. This is why she doesn't cling to roles. She can be the leader, the outsider, the ghost. She adapts based on truth, not comfort, and when the truth shifts, so does she. Others might call this inconsistency, but it's not. It's internal coherence, even if it looks unpredictable from the outside. The Sigma female builds herself like software efficient, unbloated, custom-coded, and the fewer people who understand her logic, the better. She's not here to be decoded, she's here to function freely. So don't expect her to explain who she is. Expect her to show you over time, through action, through change. She doesn't wear an identity, she runs it. Rejection of belonging as survival, not preference. The world pushes us to belong, Joe, align, fit in. But the Sigma female resists, not because she's rebellious, but because her nervous system equates belonging with self-betrayal. Most groups require compromise, code switching, emotional suppression, and for her neurodivergent wiring, that's too high a cost. She doesn't fear connection, she fears dilution. Being in a group often means lowering her volume to match the collective tone, and she refuses, not out of pride, but out of instinct. She's learned that fitting in often means shrinking, and she would rather walk alone in truth than be embraced in falsehood. It's not loneliness, it's sovereignty. When she rejects belonging, she's choosing survival, integrity, energy preservation. Because every time she's tried to play the social game, it's drained her, left her hollow, muted her signal. She's not anti-social, she's signal protective. Her mind can't thrive in echo chambers. It needs friction, silence, expansion. And when she does find someone or something she resonates with, she goes deep, all in, fully engaged. But until then, she walks alone. Not as a tragedy, but as a tactic. People see her detachment and assume she's heartless. In truth, she's heartful, but precise about who gets access. She doesn't need a crowd. She needs clarity, and if that means saying no to every tribe, every trend, every groupthink trap, she'll do it. Without guilt, her solitude isn't absence, it's alignment, and in that space, she becomes unstoppable. Inner calibration. The Sigma female possesses a deep, intuitive sense of her own internal state, almost like an internal compass that always points to her true north. This isn't just self-awareness, it's a neurological ability to constantly calibrate her thoughts, emotions, and energy levels against her authentic core. She instinctively knows when something feels off or misaligned, whether it's a conversation, an environment, or even her own actions. This constant self-auditing allows her to maintain an unwavering sense of integrity and prevents her from veering off course due to external pressures or expectations. This precise inner calibration is why she often seems unshakable and deliberate in her choices, as she's always operating from a place of profound self-knowledge. Non-linear problem solving. Unlike traditional linear thinkers, The Sigma female's brain often approaches problems from multiple angles simultaneously, drawing connections that others might miss. Her thought processes are less like a straight line and more like a web, where insights emerge from an intricate network of interconnected ideas, memories, and observations. This non-linear approach allows her to identify novel solutions and bypass conventional roadblocks, but it can also make her reasoning difficult for others to follow. She might jump from one seemingly unrelated topic to another, only to reveal a profound connection later. This ability to see the bigger picture and the intricate details simultaneously is a hallmark of her neurodivergent mind, making her an exceptional problem solver who thrives on complexity and ambiguity. I'm your host, Alfred. Comment down below if you relate with these 12 reasons. I read every comment. Stay strong, stay true, and keep walking your own path.